Hello. So, this is the first time I'm doing this, so give me a little slack. Cut me a little slack. I am going to be milling some 8-quarter cherry into roughly 22-inch by 36-inch floating cherry shelves that end up being about an inch and a half thick for a bathroom remodel that I'm in the process of. And today you're going to get to watch. A lot of it's going to be on time loop, so it's just going to be sped up, so you're not wasting all your time watching me cut down and mill pieces. But hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully this sticks and I do some more videos. Thanks. So before I move on, there's a couple things I wanted to point out. While I was going through all that, if you noticed at the beginning of the planing, I did not face the boards on a joiner. I had got these boards already pre-faced and edged on two sides. Actually, I did not get them edged. Sorry, I'm going to be going on to that step next. Another step is when I go through the planer, every pass I do one face on an A side and then one face on a B side. So you're rotating the board over between every pass. So you're taking an even amount of wood off on the board so it does not cup or bow in any way possible. You're trying to avoid that. The last step is the last two passes. My planer has the function of having two different variable speeds. One's 16 feet a minute, one's 30 feet a minute, something like that. And the last two passes you run at the slower speed, so when you're in the sanding stage, you don't have to sand off the planer marks nearly as much. So, the luxuries of having a multi-stage planer. It's awesome. Alright, I'm going to be working on setting up for a straight line rip saw because I do not have a joiner to edge these. I will dig everything out, set that up, and then I'll see you guys then. So, at the very beginning of planing, I checked this to make sure it was empty. And at the very end of planing, I haven't done anything yet. My dust collection bag is completely full. Let's see if we can get a view up there. I opened the top, and that is all wedged full also, but I don't know if you can see it in the video. So I'm going to be doing that. Okay, so here is my version of a straight line rip sled. I just happen to use pine. Preferably I'd like to use oak because it's a little stronger, less likely to dent, but this is what I had. I have some padding right here. It's just 3/4 inch plywood doubled up. Then I have these pinch clamps. I don't know the actual technical name for them. I'm just calling them pinch clamps. They just pinch down, I guess. I have the same on that side, and I happen to have the length in between so a board can fit for all my boards that I need. On the bottom, I chose to have this little 1/4 inch by just over 1/2 inch strip that I glued and pin nailed onto it. That strip fits into this channel right here. I did it with an actual straight edge at the time. I used a 4-foot level to make sure that strip right here was staying straight, and now it runs perfectly parallel with this channel and the actual saw blade. That is my version of a straight line sled. All you do is find the slot, drop it in there, take this board or any other board, line it up on this side with how much you want to actually take off, and then clamp that down, clamp that down. You can set your saw blade and run it through. Alright, I'm going to set up a time loop again. Here you go. Okay, so that's all the straight line ripping. As you saw in the video, I only did one edge. If you can see on here, you only need one edge right now because the other edge is still going to be rough right now. That's when I just run it through the regular table saw with this edge right here against the table saw fence, and this I rip to the size that I want. You might have also saw as I was going through, I stacked them and I labeled them. before as shelf C, and then shelf A, and then shelf B. And also those numbers on there are the sizes that I end up needing to get out of each of the boards to make my 36-inch shelves. So now I'm going to go through and cut all of these down to that size. Okay, so you saw me rip everything down to the sizes that I want. And what I actually didn't say beforehand is I cut everything just about 3/32 oversized, because I'm going to run both edges through the planer, standing up like this. Because a saw edge opposed to a jointed or planed edge, the planed and jointed edge glue up a lot nicer, and also it just corrects any type of deviation in the saw blade. So let's see if I have any that I can see. Right here you can see a very little that could possibly in a glue joint open or cause it to stay open a little. So the planer will get rid of that and also bring everything down to a consistent exact size of what I want. All right, I'm gonna go do that and I'll be back. Okay, so I planed everything down to our final width, and now I have our glue station set up. I just have some 4x8 sheets of cardboard on the ground, so all the glue doesn't just pour out onto the plywood surface that I have for my shop. Gluing up. So there's a couple things. You want to try and dry fit everything, make sure it fits nice. There's no big, large gaps anywhere. But another big thing is with planks like this, you want to look at the grain and watch for the cupping of the grain. So I drew a line on here to make the grain go like that, and then other way, and then opposing again. You want to make sure you go through all of them and keep them always opposing each other. You want it to make like a wave. You don't want it to be just a bunch of humps up or a bunch of cups down. What this does is it prevents your boards in the end after the glue up bowing up like this or bowing down like this once you're done. This just balances the board. Every board's going to want to move and expand with humidity and dryness and whatnot. So just keep an eye out on that. Again, dry fitting also gives you the option of grain orientation and finding your face of every board. Right now I have all my faces up and I like this layout, so we're going to go on to clamping it, and well, gluing it and clamping it. Okay, so we have our first glue up all done, and I want to go through it and show you guys a couple things. So like I said before, on this side you'll see I have all the cups orientated so they alternate up and down across the whole thing. When you saw in the video, I stood them all up so I could get the glue edge on one edge of all of them. Some guys like to do both edges so you have extra glue. I find that one edge is good enough for what I'm doing. Then another thing is I have these pieces of paper on every single glue joint between the bar and the wood. With a lot of woods, and I find with cherry it does it as well, when you have metal contact in the wood and there's glue in between, it doesn't glue to it, but it stains the wood. It creates a black dot around the bar. And a lot of the times you have to sand it down quite a bit to try and get it out. So this just prevents that from happening. Another thing is, with these only being roughly 24-25 inches long, 3 clamps is enough. I did do it as balanced as I can without adding a 4th clamp. I have one clamp on each side on top, and then I have 1 clamp on bottom, keeping it trying to be as balanced as possible. So again, when the clamps clamp it, they don't cause it to bow one way or another. And when you have the opposing bar, let's see if I can get under there. That sits tight against the boards, and that keeps it straight as well. Alright, I'm going to set up a time loop again for gluing up the rest of them, and you guys can watch that. Okay, there you have it. I glued up our 3rd and last shelf. I just wanted to add a couple things that I noticed I left out before. Because these are going in a bathroom, there's going to be wet conditions. So it's still going to be sealed, but I am using Titebond 3 waterproof glue. So any type of moisture or whatnot will not cause the joints to break apart in the future. The other thing is, some people on boards like this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boards, so there's 6 glue joints. Some people like to use call blocks, so when you clamp, it doesn't actually cause the boards to raise and lower. It's a board that would run top and bottom, and you would clamp them together, and it would basically create a channel that allows all these boards to sit in perfectly flush. I did not use it. Sometimes I do use them. There's nothing wrong with using them. There's nothing wrong with not using them. I am essentially just using this actual beam as the call block. So if you look all the way across, that joint between the bar is right tight and flush to the actual wood. So that's the upside of it. And then this is the bottom side over here. That's going to be a little harder to see, but again, the beam is nice and tight to it. Those are acting as the call blocks, and while I was gluing up this last one, you saw that I was pushing on this corner over here because it had a little bit of a step to it. There is a benefit to the call blocks. You wouldn't have to worry about that, but if you loosen up the clamps, you can move the board and it's all good. Alright, so that's going to be the end of it for today. I am going to let these glue up for a while. Probably another day. I will unclamp them, scrape all the glue off, and get on to the next step. See you guys then.